Checking on the baby, and the baby's looking pretty darn good. Hi, good morning. So I am here. I'm really excited. Today we're gonna make focaccia. I've been wanting to make this for a few weeks now, and I haven't done it, and I thought I really want to make it. Everyone has a taste for it, so here I am. I want to really recreate one of the Pugliese recipes for focaccia. This is not with the potato. This is another focaccia, and in Pugliese style. You don't always have to, but if we're going with tradition, we're using farina and semolina flour. And I'll list the instructions as far as how much in the description, okay? So last night I had time, so I actually pre-measured it out. When you have time, it's nice to get all the ingredients ready for the next day. So that's actually what I did. So it's 500 grams total. Again, I will list everything below. So we'll start with that. And then we're gonna have our warm water to start. We're adding our yeast. Some people like to put it directly in the flour. I still do it grandma style. This is how my grandma used to do it, and this is how I do it. Everyone has their own little personal preferences, and I'm great with that. I learned from that, and there's sometimes all roads lead to Rome, but everyone has their personal choices. So I'm just showing you how I've learned to do it and what works for my recipes. So I just put honey mixed in with the yeast. I'm just giving it a really good stir. Okay. With this one, we're not gonna let it rest because I'm using an instant rise yeast today. You just want to mix all your ingredients together. This flour is actually Italian flour. Again, if you don't have it, that's fine, but it is a luxury. It's called 00. In Italy, they have different variants of flour according to how fine and how coarse. And that's why the semolina is in here, to give it just a tiny, tiny bit more crunch. So if you happen to have it on hand or are able to purchase it for this particular focaccia recipe, I would say it's really nice to have, and it's a treat. Okay, now that I incorporated both of the flours, I'm gonna go ahead and start to pour in the yeast, honey. Well, you know what I'd like to do before I even do that? I'm gonna add the salt. It's just about a teaspoon of salt. So we're gonna mix that together. And as you're adding your liquid, you're gonna start stirring. And you'll be able to tell if you need to add more water, which I will, but right now I'm just incorporating what I have into the yeast. This part just takes a little patience, but I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's always fun to it's like playing with Play-Doh like when you're a kid. So, and this is always great to get the kids involved to really learn how to make focaccia. As I mentioned, I live by the train, so you're gonna hear some train noises. I hope you enjoy that. I don't know what it is, but the early morning trains I really enjoy. And now that that's worked in pretty much, you're gonna slowly add a little bit more water at a time. And little by little, it starts to come together. And then eventually we will get our hands in there to work the dough. And expect for it to be a little sticky. This will be a sticky dough to start, and then it'll rise. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my hands in there. And I'm gonna get a little bit more water. Starting to feel like the right consistency. And then at this point, I like to add a drizzle of olive oil, about a tablespoon for now. And then I want to get my hands in there and start to work it. You can continue to use your spoon. I just want to work it a little bit in the bowl. This recipe requires very little kneading. It's really just, it's not kneading, it's more lift and pull, lift and pull. So at this point you could see that the dough is sticky, and that's actually a good sign for focaccia. You want it to be sticky. Okay? Okay. There you go. Now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and cover it, and we're gonna let it rise for just a few minutes, for about, I like to do 20 minutes, and then go back and stretch and pull again, okay? Okay, so it's actually been 20 minutes. So we're gonna uncover it, and it looks fantastic. It looks like it's definitely doubled, if not more, a little bit in size. So I'm just gonna scrape some of this off. And then what you're gonna do is this, we call them stretch and pulls. Just doesn't have to exaggerate it too much, but you're gonna stretch and pull. And then go ahead and stretch and pull. And there's not a specific amount of time. You know, I do about 10. And it is, the dough at this point should be sticky, like it's really looking great, just the way it is. You can get your spatula if you want, and you know, just do that. But mainly just this, pull it and fold it in. Pull it and fold it in. Pull it and fold it in, into the center. And I just really love how it's coming together. I'm getting excited. I haven't really had focaccia in a long time, so it's gonna be nice. And then just a little drizzle of olive oil. Pat it on the top. And then again, I'm gonna cover it and we'll see you in another 20 minutes. Okay, we're ready for the next round of stretch and folds. Oh wow, it looks great. So she's really coming along here, loving it. So we're just gonna go in and just sort of release it from the sides. You can use your fingers, or you can also use a spatula, but it's actually releasing very nicely, as you can see. So it's fun, I like it. So you're gonna pull again to the center. Pull and to the center. Pull and to the center. And I really don't have a set amount of numbers that I do. I would say about 9 or 10. There we go. And one more. Pull. And then it's forming very nicely. I do like to drizzle a dash of olive oil on here again. So it's really coming together. Just folding it in a little bit. And now we're gonna let it rest for the final 20. Okay, we'll see you in a bit. Okay, let's see how she's doing here. It looks great. Look how much it doubled in size. So I really love it. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I just like to drizzle, again, a little bit of oil around the sides. And then I have the focaccia pan, and we're gonna go ahead and put oil on the bottom of our pan. And I just want to brush it. You can use your hands, or I happen to have a little brush handy, and just evenly distribute it. And also you're going to want to do it along the fluted edges. I'm using this pan that actually my daughter brought from Italy on her last visit here, and that was a treat. It comes in a pack of 3 different sizes, so that was awesome for me to get that from my sweetheart. And then now we're just going to, let me put that aside for a second. So I just want to go ahead. Oh, it comes off super easy. And then just roll it out into here. Oh, and look at the bubbles. Now, some people prefer to just get it ready and then put it in the oven. I don't know. I like to do one last thing. I like to do 10 minutes. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to take a little piece off because I'm going to make a little focaccia with the onion I had mentioned. Okay. I hope that didn't disturb it. Okay, so you're just going to spread it out. Use your fingers. Get it distributed. There's a big bubble there. Okay. All right, so let's give it one last 10 minutes before I put the tomatoes and the oregano and olive oil. I didn't use olive oil this time. I used the tomatoes, the oregano, and the olive oil, and a teeny bit of salt. Okay, let's give this 10 more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and prepare what we're gonna put on the top of the focaccia. So I like these little tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, or we call them pomodorini. and Italian. And I like to put a generous amount of tomatoes on my pizza. I wanted to see if I happen to have any dough left. I want to make a little one with red onion and tomatoes, but that's an extra little side note. But we'll see. So I'm just preparing these, getting them ready. I'm gonna add olive oil, and I'm gonna add a little bit of oregano and a dash of water and a pinch of salt. And then that'll release some of the juices in the tomato. And then when we put it on the focaccia, what you'll see is the liquid. That's why I want to do this ahead of time, because there's going to be liquid from the tomatoes that are going to spill out from adding the salt and letting them sweat. So then it's going to be like, it'll be the juice for the top of the focaccia, which gives it sort of the signature pugliese look of the red, kind of a soft red covering all over the focaccia of the tomato. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, there we go. Then a generous amount of olive oil. With focaccia, you do want to be generous with olive oil. And then I do like to add a little bit of water, because the water is nice to be on the top. It adds more moisture, even though the tomatoes will release water as well. And then I'm just gonna add a pinch of salt. At this point, very little, like a quarter of a teaspoon is fine. And then what gives another great flavor is I just love oregano. But it can be overdone too, so really I'll put the measurements below about how much I think is adequate. Again, some people like a little bit more, some people like a little bit less, but I will give you about what I like to eyeball and decide. You can always add a little bit more. It's always to start out with less, and once it's on the pizza, you can add a little bit more. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more olive oil. And then I'm gonna set this aside. I'm just pushing them down a little bit to get the tomatoes to start to release some of its juice, okay? And you can see that happening, okay? Awesome. Okay, just cover this and set aside. We still have a ways to go to work on the focaccia as it rises, okay? See you in a bit. Hi, so as you can see, the 10-minute little trick that I do, some people do it, some people don't. My grandma always did it this way, and also I prefer to do it this way. And I do feel it did raise the dough definitely a little bit more. So here you are, and then and I did make my little baby focaccia. This is the one that I'm gonna do the tomato and red onion. It's just my my little lunch for today. So it's just my little cutie mini. Okay. So here we are. Here's the tomatoes, the olive oil, the oregano, and a little bit of salt. And so I'm just gonna go ahead. I think I'll put that over here. And you can just place them wherever you'd like. I like them scattered. Some people like to make a perfect little design, which is fine. You can have fun with it. So just go ahead and place all the tomatoes, and as many or as little as you want. And you can kind of sort of squeeze them as you're laying them down. So if you wanted to, another version of the focaccia, you've probably seen it, where it's just plain. It's just brushed with a little bit of olive oil, sea salt, and a little bit of rosemary, or some people like oregano. I know my Zia used to like oregano. And then, oh, you can like, I forgot to put my fingers in there one last time to get those real indentures. Everybody loves those. That's what makes it really fluffy. It's looking good. Actually, it's looking great. You know what? There are times when I have to say I've been very unlucky and it doesn't come good. And my friends and I, we've discussed it where sometimes we feel like we've done exactly the same steps. Nothing's changed. But at the same time, sometimes the focaccia just doesn't want to cooperate. But I'm going to tell you today, it is really cooperating. I think it really wanted to put on a show for you. So there we go. I think that's good. At this point, you could put olives if you want some olives. Today, I'm not doing olives. But again, you can change it up. I think I'll stop right there. And then I'm going to put the tomatoes on the little guy. Just sort of spread those out. There we go. I'm putting a few extra tomatoes on here because this is going to be my lunch. And I just want this, I'm making it a personal mini for me. So I like that. And then I actually have a bunch of red onions I'm going to put on top too. And it should come out nicely. Just a little extra so I get my veggies in. When you're making individual, you get to be creative and put on whatever you like. And then there's a little bit of the extra juice. And you could just put it on top. And it's ready for the oven. Okay, and then the last step I like to do is, remember I was mentioning the juice from the tomatoes? Trying to get, there's still extra tomato. And you just drizzle it on top, and it's gonna give that a beautiful rose red color when it comes out of the oven, which I love that. That's, honestly, that really reminds me of when I was in the kitchen with my grandma, and I remember smelling the focaccia a mile away when it was getting ready, and I just remember it coming out of the oven looking so like a golden red. And I'll show you when that's done. A little bit more juice. I'm trying not to get any more tomatoes, although it wouldn't hurt any if I did. Let's put it that way. And there you have it. Sometimes I'll just swivel it around a little bit so it gets in all the right places. So I've preheated my oven to 450, and I'm gonna let it, it's very high, but that's how we do it. It's gonna be 450 for about 15 minutes. And then the last 5, I'll drop it down to 400. Okay. There she is. Ready for the oven. So we're totally ready. The focaccia, honestly, it came really awesome. I'm so happy with it. I hope it tastes as good as it looks. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna cut it just in straight lines. Like that. Sometimes you can do triangles. Honestly, you could do whatever you want, but today, this is how we're doing it. You can use a scissor, you can use a knife. Sometimes I'll use both. It just depends honestly, what I have on hand, both work well. I do have to say, I think a kitchen share works really well for this. For this particular situation, I'm cutting these in just small bites so we can have it with some lunch meat in our salad. Okay? Really quick, I just want to show you my lunch. I said that was my little mini focaccia that I made with the red onions separately.